Now let's turn our attention to Japan. It is caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Japan plans to release radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean. It is treated, but it's radioactive nonetheless. And Japan wants to release more than 1 million tons of such water. For perspective, 1 million tons would fill some 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So that's a lot of water. It came from the Fukushima nuclear disaster. There was a tsunami more than a decade ago. It hit the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, and since then, Japan has had this radioactive water. Now they're all set to release it, and the world is not thrilled about it. Japan's neighbors are complaining. They say it will harm the environment, but Japan insists the water is safe and that it's following international safety standards. We told you about this earlier this week. Tokyo has the go-ahead from the United Nations, from their watchdog on nuclear energy. It's called the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. Listen to their head, Rafael Grossi.
The plan, as it has been proposed and devised, is in conformity with the agreed international standards. And its application, if the government decides to proceed with it, would have negligible impact on the environment, meaning the water, fish, and sediment.
This was 3 days ago. Now Grossi has spoken again, and he seems to be gaslighting his own green light in the most lukewarm of ways. He was asked if some of the international experts behind the report had concerns, and this was his reply.
I heard that being said. I'm not sure, to be honest, that is the case.
So now the UN watchdog is not sure if there were concerns. He says none of the experts raised concerns with him directly, but that he'd heard of the issue. What does that mean? If experts disagree, should Japan be releasing the radioactive water at all? Also, on what grounds were the disagreements? If you dig deeper, you'll see the politics, and it's everywhere, politics. This team of experts that cleared Japan's plan had 11 members, and these were 11 members from different countries, including China. And China has been against Japan's plan from the word go.
Japan has not fully consulted with the international community, especially the relevant stakeholders. In July 2022, it again ignored strong opposition from the international community, officially approved plans for the water release. All these fully reflect their selfishness and arrogance.
Beijing has blasted the UN report. It says the watchdog should not be endorsing such a plan.
We do not endorse the plan or recommend this to be done. We say this plan is consistent with the standards. So I think the qualification is important because they often say this is one-sided. We do not take sides.
It seems like the UN is doing much more than just assessing radioactive water. It is stuck in the middle of a fight. Meanwhile, China has escalated the matter. It has announced a ban on Japanese food imports. Food from 10 states or prefectures in Japan will not be allowed in China. And this is bad news for Tokyo because China is the biggest buyer of Japanese seafood exports. This ban will hurt the country's economy. It will also directly affect the livelihood of its fishing communities. And while China is acting out, another neighbor is taking a step back. I'm talking about South Korea. Seoul was also a critic of the plan. Its people had started panic buying salt. They feared that sea salt would be contaminated once Japan releases the water, so they began hoarding. And prices shot up by almost 30% in the last 2 months. But now South Korea has backtracked. It has conducted its own assessment, and it says Japan's water release is safe.
Based on a review of the treatment plan of contaminated water presented by Japan, we have confirmed the total concentration of radioactive materials meets standards for ocean discharge. Therefore, the plan meets international standards, including those of the IAEA.
Japan plans to release the water this summer. It says it is running out of tanks to store the water and space to build more tanks. It insists that the process is safe, but it will need more than a UN report to convince its people, its fishing communities, and some of its neighbors, the ones who maturely express concerns without throwing a tantrum. We haven't heard the last of this story.